Stone Cold Magic fans, Jeff Stone here. I got some good news for you. It's finally here. Bam. 793.8, the print edition. This is a proof, and this is a proof. Oh, and this is another proof. Yeah, and then here is another proof. 4 proofs later, finally got it all worked out. Most of it was my fault. I found some mistakes. I even found one other teeny tiny mistake in this one, but I'm leaving it because it doesn't really affect the book. It's not a typo. It's just an extra word that I forgot to delete when I was doing my editing. Anyway, it's here, guys. So many of you have asked for a print edition of this, and so I only did it because you guys asked for it. I actually wasn't planning on doing a print edition. So thank you so much for buying the PDF version. Here's a print edition. And of course, those of you who already bought the PDF version, there will be a discount for this because this one actually comes with the PDF. And so in the end, you'll end up paying about the same price as if you just bought the book. All the details for how you get the discount will be on the website, or I'll send out an email or something. I'm still trying to figure out how my shopping cart system works to allow me to do this. But rest assured, you will get a discount on the book so that you're not paying double the price. Anyway, I want to tell you a little bit about the book. A lot of people that have read it got it. They got what the point was, and some haven't gotten it. And so let me just tell you this. This is not just theory, and it's not just effects. There are probably 12 to 15 effects in the book. And they are effects that range from stuff I've been doing for years that have been in either my close-up or my stand-up repertoire that I've worked out, that I've done over and over and over again. And everything that I know about the effect is listed here in the book. Then there are other effects that are similar to ones I've done that are my own effects, but they're kind of modifications that I've never really tested. And so I leave them to you, the reader, to test them out and try them out. But I have enough experience in performing that type of effect that I know it's a good idea. And then there's some crazy stuff in there that it's an effect that you'll never do. But it's the reason I put those kinds of things in there is because I want you thinking about effects. I'll tell you one thing that you may be familiar with my article that I wrote called the Dedicated to the Art. It's a ridiculous thought experiment about how to perform an effect where you literally de-age before the audience, right on stage. It's a trick that takes 30 years to prep, guys, and a lot more than that. That's why it's called Dedicated to the Art. It was actually inspired by not the Illusionist, but the other one. Wow. Oh, man, The Prestige. Sorry about that, guys. It was inspired by that. If you've seen the movie and you read the article, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, then there are lots of essays in here, and these essays are my thinking about performance and engaging your audience and scripting and all kinds of different things. There's lots of different things in here. The point of this book, 793.8. That is the Dewey Decimal number for library books for magic. Some of you are too young to even know what a Dewey Decimal is. But right in the front, you will see my inspiration. Brad Skarnecki-Gordon, Jay Sankey, Paul Harris, and Melville Dewey, the creator of the Dewey Decimal System. You ask a librarian this question, where is the magic? Her answer will be 793.8. Now these days you don't ask a librarian, you go type it into the computer. But the reason I chose that title, it was very specific. Back in the day when I did go to the library as a kid and looked in that section, there were some incredible magic books there. And I remember flipping through those books, and you're not going to see a lot of pictures in this book, but flipping through the books and seeing these crazy pictures of apparatus and these cheesy kids dressed in top hats and capes made out of blankets and safety pins and colored paper everywhere, and it was just this cheesy yet wonderful world of magic that was so new to me, and it created this feeling of wonder and astonishment, which is, you'll hear those two terms over and over again in this book. But these feelings of wonder were all through these books. It was just amazing. And that's when I first got into magic. And I mean, there's other things that got me into it first, but that's when I first started getting into magic books. And as I read these books and started learning magic, this whole new world opened up, and this I began to see the wonder, and I had this feeling. And back then when I saw a magic trick, I felt it. I mean, it was amazing. I remember Doug Henning holding his hand up, and there was a nickel there, and then he'd close his hand, and now the nickel was gone, and that was amazing to me. It just blew my mind, and that feeling is lost, guys. It's gone. It's so hard to find these days. Now, all of us as magicians were a bit tainted, and so we tend to forget what it feels like because we know how that nickel trick was done, and I'm not going to expose it in case you don't know because it's beautiful. But you think, well, it's just this, that, and the other, and that's how he did it. And you forget. It's like a movie producer who watches a movie, and all he can see is in his head, they probably used a green screen and some wires and cables to do that effect. It's terrible. You just can't, I can't anyway, watch magic anymore. I mean, I can, but I don't feel like I felt back then. The problem is, as magicians, because we're tainted and because we can't remember that feeling, what do? We forget how to give it to our audience. This book is going to change that, guys. I'm very, very passionate about this. This can change the way you perform. It can change the way you connect with your audience. The reason this book exists is to change the way you think about your effect. Let me read what Richard Sanders said. 793.8 is one of the freshest and most powerful books about presentation for magicians that I have read in a very long time. Your thoughts on connecting with an audience are so powerful that they literally woke me up to being a better performer. Thank you so much for this fantastic work. I'm not doing this to toot my own horn, guys. I'm doing this because I have a passion for this. There's a great, I think I got it in here. I can't remember. I was listening to a podcast by Dodd Vickers, and he was interviewing Cosmo. And Cosmo said that magicians don't know what magic looks like. They've forgotten. And he's so right. He's one of the reasons I wrote this book. That quote of his. There's a great quote in here that's from Andrew Main. He was speaking of Paul Harris on the same podcast, different episode. He says, a lot of magic starts at the fingertips and ends at the wrist. That's a sleight of hand, right? Paul, as in Paul Harris, starts at the brain and it goes to the heart. That statement moved me. That's a beautiful statement, and that is what this is about, guys. I don't care where you hold your finger when you do your pass or your multiple shift or whatever. Who cares? It's about the effect. It's not about the method. And so you will find in here effects where the method, I don't even have a method for some of them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's plenty of fully fleshed out effects in there that, like I said, are from my repertoire. But you'll find effects in here where I have a thought and an idea, and then I'll share some potential methods with you. I never leave you completely hanging. But I want you to think about this. I don't want you to go out there and deliver the same stock lines that they worked when Don Allen was doing them, because it's him and it's his personality. But now everybody is trying to be Don Allen. And guess what, guys? You're not. You're not freaking Don Allen. We're not him. Sorry, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just passionate about this. The bottom line, guys, you need to find your own personality. You need to find out who you are. You need to deliver your magic in a way that inspires yourself and your audience. That's what this book's for, guys. This book gets you thinking. Let me read to you what Larry Haas, Dr. Lawrence Haas, the Associate Dean of McBride School of Mystery, he says, Jeff Stone has quietly published a series of excellent magic books that are well worth your time and money. His latest one, 793.8, is all that again, but raised to another level. His deepest interest is to help you tap into the magic in your magic. Those moments of deep, true astonishment. Between Jeff's thoughtful essays and excellent routines, you will find yourself inspired to create more magical magic. Highly recommended. Again, not just tooting my horn here, guys. I'm very proud of what I've written here. I'm as humble as I can be about it, but I'm proud of it. But these are guys, Dr. Lawrence Haas and Richard Sanders, particularly Dr. Haas. He's written books about presentation, but Richard Sanders as well. They're both guys that I think are good presenters of magic, very good presenters of magic. And I know for sure, based on what I've read from Larry Haas's work, that he thinks a lot about presentation. He has a book, it's called Transformations, Creating Magic Out of Tricks. And that's very, very much what it's all about. It's not just a trick, it's magic. Where's the magic in the trick? And here he is saying that this has inspired him. That's very humbling to me, but it's also makes me very proud of what I've done here. And I think that this can inspire you. I really believe that. I'll read one last testimonial here from Bob Neal. Robert E. Neal. He says, Jeff Stone 793.8 asks us to discover where the magic is in our methods, effects, presentations, and in our lives. Perhaps we do not care or think we know, but Jeff lightly and joyfully keeps at us with his tricks and reflections until we are moved to wonder more broadly and deeply about our experience of magic. The result is a book of thoughtful entertainment and perhaps even magic itself. May we allow ourselves to wonder along with it. This book has been, I don't know, it's 7 years in the making, and it's the first real printed book I've ever done, and it's almost 300 pages, 270 pages. There are tons of things in here that will get you thinking, guys, and that's what I wanted to do. You know, magic is a huge part of our lives as magicians. Even if you're just a hobbyist and you don't perform professionally, it's a huge deal and a huge, huge part of who we are. And the last thing you want to do is cheapen it by loaning out a Sharpie pen, and then when you take it back from the person you borrowed it from, you say, that's how I got it. I mean, come on, guys. Let's get rid of these stock lines. Let's come up with some original material, and let's think. Let's think outside of the box, as they say. You know, there's another cliche for you. But let's think. Let's examine our presentations. Let's examine our effects. Let's examine ourselves. And at the end of every single chapter, I ask this question. Where is the magic? Where is the magic? And I give an answer based on, you know, I'm asking in the last thing you just read, where is the magic? Because these essays are pointless, and these tricks are pointless if there's no magic. So at the end of every single essay, I had to challenge myself. And frankly, I had to delete some essays and tricks out of the book because I couldn't come up with a legitimate answer for where is the magic. So everything in here, I've asked the question and I've answered the question. Where is the magic? Jay Sankey says it's between the pages of this book. And I hope he's right. And I think he's right. And again, if I come across as arrogant, sorry. But I think this is a very important book. And I think that if you care at all about the craft of magic and the future of magic, if you care at all about that, I'm not saying if you don't buy this book you don't care. I'm not saying that at all. But if you do care about those things, then you need to think about presentation. You need to think about the effect and how the effect affects the audience. If you don't think about that, you're not a good magician. If you're just up there doing your fancy moves and sleights and, showing how impressive it is that you can bring their card back to the top without them knowing that you did a false move or something like that, that's not magic, guys. And if you're a card juggler, that's fine. If you do flourishes and all that stuff, and that's all you do, that's totally cool. I have nothing against that. I love that kind of stuff. But it isn't magic. But here's the thing. It can be magic. That fancy finger flinging can create a feeling of astonishment and wonder. That feeling doesn't have to come from a magic trick. That feeling comes from all over the place. That feeling comes from, there's several stories in here I'll tell, but I'll give you one right now. Years ago, I was at a restaurant. I saw a jar that was homemade jam, and it said on the jar, Cherry Coke Jam. I'm like, dude, Cherry Coke Jam? That's awesome. And I read it out loud, and my wife looked at me, and the lady at the cash register looked at me, and she said, no, it's Choke Cherry Jam. I've never heard of a choke cherry at this point in my life. I looked at the label, and hand to God, the label moved. It changed. I saw it physically morph. Clearly I was hallucinating, but the letters rearranged themselves and changed from Cherry Coke to Choke Cherry. It was the freakiest thing I ever experienced in my life. That was magic, guys. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment of astonishment and wonder in my life. And that feeling, a complete illusion. It was in my head, obviously, but that's what my eyes saw. They finally found a place for this choke cherry thing they'd never heard of, and I hallucinated a change. It was freaky. Anyway, that's a feeling that I felt, and up until that point, it had been a long time since I felt astonishment or felt wonder. Well, that feeling is what I want you to do with your audience. I want you to inspire them to have that feeling, that moment of, I don't even care how it happened. It was just beautiful when it did happen. I don't care the science behind why the letters are rearranged on that jar of jam. I care that I saw them rearrange. And that's it. That's beautiful. That's wonder. It's full of wonder. It's wonderful. That's it, guys. If you want to inspire your audience to wonder, to astonishment, to feel that feeling again, that feeling that you've lost, all of us, I'm talking to myself too, we've all lost that feeling. If you want to remember that feeling, that 793.8 feeling, those old library books when you opened them up and saw all those amazing, wonderful images, if you want to remember that feeling and you want to give it to your audience, get this book, guys. If you don't get it, fine, don't get it. Borrow your friends. I'm not trying to get rich off of this because I won't, believe me. I won't get rich off of this. But I'm trying to change the way we look at magic. Borrow a copy from your friend. Read it. If you don't have somebody that has a copy of it, then start doing your own thinking about wonder and about astonishment and about your own effects. Sure, this book is an excellent way to get there. And I'm more than happy to let you get your hands on a copy and give me a little cash for doing so. But the real thing, guys, I want you thinking about your magic. Think about your magic. Think about how it impacts your audience. Think about how it makes them feel. Remember that feeling. And always, 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 always ask yourself, where is the magic?